Welcome back to Nostalgianomics. Hope everyone had a fun, exciting, and safe 4th of July weekend. If you were out celebrating yesterday and didn't get a chance to check out the video I posted yesterday, make sure you check it out after this one. It's only a minute long. I'm doing a Q&A answer video this Friday, and I'm pulling all the questions from that video. So make sure you go check that one out. Leave your question in the comment section if you want it answered, and I'll make sure to answer it in this Friday's video. As for today, we are going to try and put an end to the conversation, the discussion, the debate. That is, are PSA 10s really better investments over PSA 9s? I know a lot of people out there hold PSA 10s in very high regard. They're the creme de la creme. They are what you want to put your money into if you are a serious collector or serious investor over PSA 9s. Other people say, hey, PSA 10s, you can only buy a few of them, where PSA 9s, you can diversify and spread your money out to a whole bunch of them for the same price. Sort of like buying a lot of mid-cap or small-cap stocks as opposed to a few large-cap stocks that are seen as safer, right? We're going to find out, are PSA 10s really better performers today than PSA 9s were? Two things before we get into this video. One, all this data is taken from pokedata.io, which I think they pull all their info from eBay sales. Okay, so if there are private sales people know about, if there are sales on a PWCC, a Heritage, a Golden, that they end up really low at auction, I get it. But these are good. This is going to be the data I take. It's going to give you a really good idea of how these have performed over the years. If they aren't exactly to the dollar right because there's been a recent sale somewhere, I get it. But this is what we are going to take for this video, so don't beat me up over all the exact prices. The other thing is, I take my data from mid-2017. Why do I do that? Is it just because I want to further, the debate and my view because showing a data set that I choose? No. I get you can kind of shorten or elongate a chart to kind of fit your narrative any way you want. I get that. The reason I take mid-2017, I think it's the truest data set to show how cards have performed and are going to perform in the future. Why is that? It's because it's after the Pokemon Go and Evolutions boom. Okay? It's after we've seen all the price rises and then kind of the stabilization of the prices after that boom. Because other than Logan Paul, that's been the biggest boom in modern times. Okay? And if you go back farther than that, like 2016, 15, 14, a lot of the prices were a lot lower, a lot closer together, and it can really kind of skew the data in a way that I don't think is true to how Pokemon's going to be performing into the future. Now, this is all opinions. We can debate that, but that's where I'm taking the data from. If you're not okay with that, I get it, but that's what we're going to do for this video. So, at very least, it should give you an idea of how these cards have performed over time. First up is going to be the Jungle Jolteon. I left out base set because, the whole disparity and base set jungle, or base set Shadowless first edition, we could do a whole video just based on that mess. So I started out with first edition jungle. I think that's a good place to start. I started out with the Jungle Jolteon, one of the hardest hitters, the most popular cards in the set. First off, the pop report, it's 129 10s compared to 705 9s. It's about a 6 times disparity. It's pretty average for a lot of these WotC cards. So nothing crazy there. Going down to the prices, okay? Again, mid-2017. The Jungle Jolteon was going for around $300 as a 10, and then about $50 as a 9. So if we get the handy-dandy calculator out, if you take that $300 as a 10, it's going for around $21.34 now. So $21.34 divided by that 300, we're looking at around a little over a 7 times gain on your money over that time, right? But how's the 9 done? Well, right now it's selling for somewhere around $400. So we have 400 divided by 50. That's obviously 8 times. So you made almost a whole 100% more on your money in that same time frame. Okay? Yes, the 10's a lot higher price, but when you take percentage gains into the mix, the 9's actually been outperforming it. Okay? So this doesn't really fit the narrative that the PSA 10s are the end-all be-all because the pop reports are lower, because they're more valuable, because that's what the serious collector is going to gravitate to. I get that. But look, there's only 129 of them, meaning there's only 129 serious collectors. That's saying if no one owns 2 of these, which I'm sure someone like Gem Mint Pokemon does of this card, there's less than 129 people that can actually own this card as a 10. So what do? Are they just out of luck? They can't have this for the collection? No. They're a lot of the times going to move to the 9. They're going to buy the 9s because that's all that's out there. It's not that that's all they can afford, it's that's all that's available, which will in turn raise the prices of the 9s. The other thing is diversification, right? Instead of, say you have $10,000, well, maybe you can only buy, 5 or 10 cards of PSA 10s, but you could buy maybe, I don't know, 50 cards of PSA 9s, so you can diversify out your portfolio more. You could also own more for your collection, so a lot of the times 9s could be a better option than 10s, and we're seeing that price-wise, they can actually be a better option as an investment as well. Moving on. So a less popular card, a less hard-hitting card, just a Jungle Vileplume. How does that do? Well, about the same disparity, 100 and 578, so around almost a 6 times disparity in 9s and 10s. How's it been performing? Look, I'll be fair, I won't take this huge data set up here. I'll take it right down here in the middle. $260 for a PSA 10 Vileplume. Around that same time, it was around almost $30 for a 9. Okay, so get the calculator back out. We have, what was it? 260, and right now it's going for 800. So we have 800 divided by 260, which is just over a 3 times gain on the PSA 10. How has the 9 been? Well, it's about $30, and it's selling for somewhere around about $150 now. So we have 150 divided by 30, and that's a 5 times gain. So almost 200% more on your money you would have made by buying the PSA 9 Vileplume as opposed to the PSA 10. And again, only 100 people or less are even allowed to own this thing right now because that's all that's on the market. Okay, so what are the people who want to own this card graded do? They have to go to the 9s, which will in turn drive the market and push these prices higher. Moving on. Aerodactyl first edition from Fossil. Well, it's about a little less disparity, maybe only about close to a 5 times disparity, so a little less from 9s and 10s. Prices. Back in 17, it was around 157 for the 10 and only about 25 for the 9. How is that done today? Well, today the 10's going for, we can't really see that price, it's somewhere around here, around 730. So around 730 divided by 157 gives it somewhere around a 4.5, almost a little over a 4.5 times price gain. The 9 was around, what is that, 25, right? 25, and now it's going for somewhere around 160. So 163 divided by 25 gives it around a 6.5% price gain. So again, looking at a lot better than a PSA 10. Now, why is this? I mean, the pop reports are about the same, right? So it's not that. It's not the pop reports. It's not the fact that it's, a popular Pokemon compared to a non-popular Pokemon. There's really no, real thing you can put your finger on that shows why the 9s are outperforming the 10s. Other than the fact that possibly the 10s are drying up on the market and people are starting to name their prices, putting ridiculous prices on them, so people aren't going to pay that, and they say, no problem, I'll just get a 9. They're plentiful, they're on the market, there's a lot more established market price because the 10s are all over the place, as you can see by these charts, and people don't want to pay those overinflated prices. And that's why you see prices drop so much, is eventually someone gets fed up, they throw one at auction, and the auction ends up really low, and the other people say, well, I'm not taking that, I think it's worth more, and they keep their cards listed up here at buy it now, and they don't sell. Whereas the 9s, you can see there's a lot more data points because they sell a lot more often because the population's higher, and the prices are a lot more established, if that makes sense. But I'm going to move on. We're going to look at the Dark Charizard now, okay? The most popular card in Team Rocket, all right? The highest price card. And basically, it's going for $4,000 as a PSA 10 and only $747 as a 9. Now, the disparity between 10s and 9s are a lot shorter, right? It's barely over a 4 times disparity from 10s to 9, meaning the 10's a lot easier to get in this card. Let's go down and check out how it's been performing. So, again, mid-2017, it was going for around $550 as a 10 and around $100 as a 9. So, if we go to the prices now, somewhere around $800 as a 9, and then it's been dropping a lot lately, so it's been somewhere around like $4,000 as a 10, right? So if we look at that in the calculator, well, we don't have to really calculate that, I can do that in my head. 550 to, around 4,000, about, little under an 8 times gain, and then 100 up to the 8, about an 8 times gain. Okay, so relatively similar. So not that you would have done better either way, but the fact of the matter is you wouldn't have done really worse either way. So the 9 really isn't a worse investment than the 10. It's about the same, right? And it's not the pop reports, right? Because there's way more 9s than 10s. There's, it's a lot less disparity, so it's easier to get a 10 in this card, so it's not that. It's the most popular Pokemon instead. It's a Charizard. So obviously the Charizard isn't holding a better price point as a 10. Like I said, you can't really put your finger on it other than people might be getting fed up with paying the 10 prices. So it's pushing the 9 prices up because that's where more of the money is headed as a more fair value on the card. Again, these are just speculations. I'm not really sure what it is, but this is showing that the 9s can be just as good as investments as the 10s. Moving on to kind of a lesser Pokemon, right? A Misty's Tentacruel from Gym Heroes. How's it been doing? Well, only 117 as a 10, 410 as a 9. Again, kind of more of that Charizard disparity, around 4 times, a little less than 4 times actually. Back in 17, could have bought it for 75 bucks as a 10 and about 20 bucks as a 9. Fast forward to now, went up about 10 times in a 9 and went up only, a few times, but about 4 times as a 10. So not even close, obviously. The 9 has far outperformed the 10 in this card. Far. I mean, this would have been, like I said, I don't know, 8 times, 7 times better investment than a PSA 10 would have been. And you can see that reflected in the prices here. And so, when it comes down to less popular Pokemon, less hard hitters, it looks like the 9s are far outperforming the 10s. And again, these are WotC sets, first edition. I don't know where else to take data points from, but these are, is pretty much as old as it gets in first edition. The 9s are doing better than the 10s. All right, next one up is going to be the Blaine's Arcanine. Now, this is going to be a hard hitter. This is Gym Challenge, one of the hardest hitters from Gym Challenge, other than the Blaine's Charizard. But so same thing, not huge disparity in 10s to 9s, about 3 times, a little less than 3 times actually. Looking back at the data, mid-2017, somewhere around $219 compared to $42. So we're gonna get the calculator out from this one. So right now it's going for around 1,400. So 1,400, what was it, 219 divided by 219 is gonna be, so about almost 6.5% on your money, or 6.5 times on your money, not percent. And then it's a $41 compared to around, what is it? I don't know, mid-4s now, maybe 500. What did it say up here? About 500. So 41, we're gonna say 500 divided by $41. You're getting about 12 times on your money. 1,200% compared to that. So obviously the 9, even in a more popular card, more sought after card, Gym Challenge, first edition, Blaine's Arcanine, far outperforming the 10. So I don't know why 9s are getting a bad rap. I don't know why 10s are seen as the investment vehicle or the serious collector, serious investor buy, but the stats, the data just doesn't hold true on that, okay? Maybe it does for certain cards and certain sets, but it's definitely not a universal truth, okay? We're gonna move on now to some more rare cards, more scarce sets, all right? Secret Rare, Shining Gyarados, one of the best artworks in the entire hobby, in my opinion. From Neo Revelation. So, 105 available, 464 as a 9. All right, so about a 4.5 disparity, so a little more than the Arcanine or the Tentacruel. All right, look at the price difference, 7,100 compared to 1,515. This is a card that has sold all over the place at different auction houses, so this one could be off on the prices. I get it. We're gonna take the data that's given here, though. Okay, so don't beat me up. All right. Back in 2017, all right, it was going for kind of all over, somewhere around 1,200 down to 1,000. So somewhere around, maybe 1,100, we'll take an average, and then around 150 as a 9. So calculator back out. We are going to take that 7,100. We're going to divide that by 1,100 back then. So the 10 has made you about 6.5 times on your money. The 9, back then it was around 138. Today it's selling for around 1,515. So 1,515 divided by 138, almost 11 times on your money. Even with this incredible price rise, the 9 has still outperformed the 10, even in the Shining Gyarados first edition. The 9's still on top, guys. The 9 is still on top. Let's keep going. Here's an Ampharos from Neo Genesis. Okay, so this is a Neo card. It's a holo. All right. Pop report's not crazy. Okay, 196, 509, a little over 2 times disparity. I'm not even going to show these up close because it's obvious. Look, 75 back then compared to under 20. Seen some drafts recently, so 393 compared to 150. Obviously, it's not even close, and 9's very far ahead. I just wanted to show this because again, it's another a lot more harder to find set, a lot more scarce set. It's in the first edition. It's a first edition holo from that set, and still the 9 still outperforms. Next up, this is going to be where the data can shift. Okay. When you get a card that's hard to grade, when you get a card that has a very low pop, that's where it can make more sense to get the 10s. Because I wanted to be fair and show both sides of the data. So, the Snorlax, right? Only 73 10s, 628 9s, okay? So, about an 8 times disparity between the 10 and the 9. That's a lot, all right? How has that looked over the years? So, back in 17, you could have bought a Snorlax for $460 as a 10 and about $56 as a 9. So, how has that aged? Well, basically taking this data set, 5588 divided by 460, you're about over 12 times on your money on the PSA 10. The 9, what was it at? It was at $56 compared to the, what, 580 that's at now. So 580 divided by 56. It's not crazy less, right? It's still over 10 times on your money, but you would have made about 200% more if you would have went with the PSA 10 version. Now, look at the PSA 10. A lot crazier spikes, like I said. A lot bigger ups, a lot bigger downs, depending on if you want to throw it at the whims of an auction on a site, or if you want to hold out for that buy it now, that right buyer. The 9 is going to have a lot more fluent data set, so these data points are going to be hit a lot more because it's sold more often. So it's a lot safer route to be in and out of, probably a lot more liquid. For that liquidity, for that safety, you're going to give up, like I said, a little more on the growth. In the future, we don't know what that's going to see. Are we going to see serious collectors really, pay for those really low pops? Or are we going to see people give up and say, you know what, a 10 on a slab isn't as important to me as having the card mint, and so I'm just going to pay a lot less for that 9. And could that make the 9 market actually shift up and kind of shrink that disparity between 10 and 9? We don't know. That's kind of the game you play. That's the speculation you play in the future. But this is how it's performing now. So a low pop card, a hard to grade card like a Snorlax, it can actually outperform the 9s. Looking at something else, the Dark Magneton, okay, from Team Rocket. Not a popular Pokemon, but it's extremely hard to grade. This is actually one of the cards I speculated on back in the day, but 56 PSA 10s, all right, and 716 9s, okay, so what is that? A 14 times disparity. That's ridiculous on a PSA 9 to 10 level. How does that show on the data? Well, obviously, you could have bought it for $700 back in 17. It was only $26 card and a 9. Now, it's going to get close because the 9 was so cheap, but, if we look at the 9, $140, so 143 divided by 26, only a 5.5 times gain. What was it back then? It was... calculator's in the way. Come on, get out of the way. It was around 570, so basically we have a 7,000 divided by 570, okay? So you'd have made about over 12 times on your money investing in a 10. And again, this is because the population is so low, so basically collectors and investors that decide to sell, they can basically name their price, and anyone who wants to complete a PSA 10 set, they have to pay it, right? There's only 56 or less people, if people own multiple, out there that actually have their hands on this card. How's it going to perform in the future? Are more people just going to shift to the 9, or are people going to continue to pay up for the 10? We don't know. But what this shows you is, if the population is low enough, the 10s will outperform the 9s. Moving on, Blaine's Moltres. So here's a tricky one, all right? Only 63 10s, very low pop. All right, 488 9s, so about 8 times disparity. But look at this card, okay? I didn't have it out. Okay, this makes more sense. All right, so 2017 it was $230 as a 10 and only 26 as a 9. So fast forward to today, $38.50 as a 10. All right, divided by that. What price was that? The 230 divided by 230, we're looking at about 16.7 times as a PSA 10. All right, and then the 9 has went all the way up to 440, so we have 447 divided by, I believe it was $23. Yeah, $26. Okay, it's about the same. It's about the same. And so what we could be seeing here is, like I talked about, people getting fed up. People saying, hey, I'm done paying these exorbitant prices for these PSA 10s. I'm going to start moving into the 9s. It's still pretty low pop. I get it's a lot. It's nowhere near 63, but I'm just going to start paying for the 9. So we've seen the 9 rise at about the same 17 times as we've seen the 10. Okay, so we could start seeing that happen with those other cards. I'm not sure, but this gives you an idea of a low pop card that has actually seen the same price rise as a 9 recently. So all these things need to be taken into account when you're looking into putting real large amounts of money into these PSA cards, because there's no one size fits all. You can't just say a PSA 10 is going to perform better than a PSA 9. It doesn't always hold true. You also can't say, well, PSA 9 is going to be a better option because I can buy more of them and on average they're going to go up more than a 10. They don't, right? You have to really dissect each card you're getting into. That's why I make these videos, is so you do your own research to show that these blanket statements of PSA 10s are better doesn't always hold true. And the blanket statement of low pops are always better doesn't always hold true. Next up is going to be the Shining Mewtwo, okay? This is going to be, you know, super sought after, all right? The triple star rarity, the Neo Destiny, really hard to find, really scarce. Basically, the PSA 10, look at this, only 190, but only 235 9s, so it's just a scarce card all over, almost no disparity between 9 and 10, and this is going to reflect in the prices. So look at the mid-2017, 318 as 9, 1,400 as a 10, okay? So the 10 has not even seen a 3 times uptick, where the 9 has seen almost a 5 times uptick, okay? So the 9 obviously far outperformed the 10, and the reason for this is the card itself holds the value, right? Just the rarity and scarcity of the card itself holds the value, where the grade isn't as important, right? It's just important to have the card in general. Look, even the 8 holds a $660 price point, okay? So when you start getting into more rare cards, the rarity and scarcity of the card holds its value more than the grade, and this is also reflected in things like the Shining Raichu, okay? So back in the day, it had a 315 9 and a 910, and so now we started to see these big upticks in the 9, but back before that, it was 1900, only double, where the 9 was over triple. We started seeing some big sales, so maybe we're starting to see that, you know, people really want those 10s uptick because, you know, the 10 has, you know, just as many grades as the 9, so might as well pay up a little more to have the 10. I don't know. But, you know, you're seeing these grades. They're not huge. They're not really much difference because people are just paying for the rarity and scarcity of the card in general. Last two I want to show are these gold stars because I think it's interesting. So the gold star Rayquaza. I'm not sure the price is still here, but we're going to say it is. Okay, look, only 47 graded. $35,000 card. The 9 is 190 graded, $9,000 card. Okay? Which is better. Obviously, your eyes would say, well, the 10, obviously. But how liquid is the 10? How hard is it to sell? And how good does it perform compared to the 9? Let's look. Back in 17, you could have bought the 10 for $3,500, the 9 for $869. So we're going to look at the 9, 9,000, okay, divided by $869. You're over 10 times up on your money, all right? So you're over 1,000% up. The 10, 34,440, divided by, right, that 3,500. Not 10 times up. You're less. So even in a card like this, where it looks like it's so drastically up, the 9 has still outperformed this card since 2017. Now, you have a higher value, but percentage-wise, you're better in the 9. Also, you have more liquidity in the 9. Look at this. There's barely ever sales of this card, where the 9, there's a lot more data points of sales. Meaning, you can move in and out of this card a lot freer, and you've actually outperformed the 10. Same goes for the Gold Star Charizard. Look at this. 96 10s, 453 9s, okay? Back in 17, $4,600 for a 10, only $670 for a 9. Meaning, today with that price, that $21,900 price, okay, divided by, what did we say it was? Forgot already. 4,600. You're only about 4.76 times up on your money, so under 5 times up on your money, where you could have got in at 670, and now you'd be at 4,700. So 4,700 divided by 670, and you're 7 times up on your money. The 9 is far outperformed the 10, and again, it's more liquid. So keep all these things in mind when you're investing, people, okay? Don't take blanket statements like, only 10s are investable. 10s are the end-all be-all, the creme de la creme. If you're putting money into WotC things or old vintage things, you've got to get the 10s. It's simply not true. The 9s have outperformed the 10s in far too many instances, okay? Even in the highest rarity, the highest scarcity, the highest popularity of cards, the 9s have outperformed the 10s. Not only that, the 9s are more liquid. You can get in and out of them more freer. Not only that, you can diversify more in the 9s, right? You can afford a lot more 9s and a lot more sets and a lot more cards than only a few 10s. It's like investing in a bunch of small cap or mid cap stocks as opposed to just a few of the really high dollar blue chip stocks, right? Because the price of the share is so high compared to the price of the share being lowered. And so this can give you an idea of how you want to kind of structure your investing or your collecting when you're putting money into these things. Now, there's always going to be those collectors out there that say, nope, I got to own the best of the best, the creme de la creme, and they're going to go after those tens, and they're going to pay up for it. I get it. But there's also going to be a lot more people out there that say, you know what? Yeah, I don't have 21K to drop on one card. I'll pay the 4K, or I'll pay the 2K as an 8, right? And so keep all these things in mind. I like to make these videos to show the actual data instead of a lot of opinions that circulate around out there. Hope this helps you in your investing and collecting journey. And tomorrow's video is going to be just as good. Tomorrow we're going to do the same type of thing. We're going to dissect buying high grade unlimited compared to lower grade first edition when they're the same price. So like buying a PSA 10 unlimited Jolteon as opposed to a PSA 9 first edition Jolteon when they're around the same value, how those performed over time. So you're not going to want to miss that. I got that coming tomorrow. Other than that, hope you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. My name is Alex, this is Nostalgianomics. Be back here in that new video tomorrow. I'm out.